but I want to take my approach to the subject through sort of a nature standpoint and through explorers and pioneers. And so in this first section, biomimicry is very important to me and to my work, and I think it could be beneficial to all causes or what we have to accomplish. What biomimicry is the imitation of models, systems, and elements of nature for the purpose of solving complex human problems. So I think that if we look to nature, if there is this big movement to go back to nature that so many of us are talking about, there's so many farms, there's so many this, there's so many organic. If we are really serious about this, then we will begin to model our lives, model our organizations, and model our practices after nature. Up here, I have the spider web, and I have a radiolarian. The radiolarian is a single-cell organism that exists in the ocean, and the spider web is just a common spider web. But if we apply that to sort of this thought process, if we build out from the center, then you can begin to have a web and encircle your organization, and you can sort of build out, branch out, and then what comes into that web only benefits the organization. So in a way, it's like a circle of trust. And then you know that there are ways to bridge the gap if we look at the web. You know what I mean? So for me, the approach is through a natural system. And in this natural system, in many ways, is perfect. In nature, it's possible for us to find solutions for the human condition. This web as a model for building organizations or brainstorming for the perfect solution. When opportunity is entangled, then we have a chance to provide for the whole, for infinity. You can see these sort of shapes in my personal work. If you look at my personal work, it's always full of doilies. It's always full of these sort of radiolarian shapes and mandalas. So, like, I'm a firm believer in that, and that is part of my practice. And I think that it could help to benefit the whole of this conversation, or we will be here next year having the same conversation. Okay, these are my pioneers, and these are my explorers. To the left, we have Matthew Henson, and to the right, we have Africa Bambaataa. For me, Matthew Henson, when I saw this photograph as a child in like my weekly reader at school, it let me know that it is possible to explore the world or explore my room without boundaries. And then to give this guy credit, he is the man who discovered the North Pole. So that for me at that age was like pretty amazing. So that is my explorer. Bambaataa, when I saw this image as a child, let me know that aesthetically, I have the freedom to make the choices that I want to make. I don't have to exist within the box, and neither does this conversation or the aesthetic that we choose to create Black art or art. And Bambaataa is important too because, as you saw in the video, and as she spoke about, there is this connection to Good Times and JJ and the Ernie Barnes sort of character. But for me, in my belief system, I think that we have to push further beyond JJ. I think that we have to come into a new aesthetic and define that aesthetic on our terms, on our own turf, in a way. So that is my pioneer. So explorers and pioneers. I'm choosing to use mountaineers because this what we are facing seems to be impossible. This group is the Expedition Denali. They set out this year to climb Denali in Alaska. They were to be the first African American expedition to make the summit. This just happened 3 months ago. They just returned back to sort of base camp or back to Earth from the heavens. So in this thought process that I have, if we are connected to mountaintops, if we go to Martin Luther King and we see where he says he's been to the mountaintop and this and that, he to me is the explorer. It's only when we get to the top that we should look back and sort of yodel to the next generation or holler back at the next generation from the mountaintop, from the peak. It's when we fail to holler back is when the question comes about generation gaps.
That's right.
And ageism and all of these things. But you see in this photo represented from youngest to oldest. So this is a collective, this is a community. These are people who are working for greater good more than just climbing the mountain. So when there's another child in their classroom, they will be able to go to that summit. And that's how I think art and this conversation can happen. If we are to be a collective, it has to be defined. This is the Expedition Denali. That is who they are, it can't be denied. This is what they have accomplished. And soon, they will come to Atlanta to field questions. So I'm excited by that, you know what I mean? because I am an outdoorsman. So this is the Expedition Denali. And that is for my mountaintop sort of metaphor of how we can approach this sort of ageism and the gaps within culture. It's through mountain climbing. This group is another outdoors group. This whole movement back to nature. This whole movement of being outside, this whole movement of finding yourselves and presenting yourselves in spaces that aren't normally held by black bodies. Most black people do not go whitewater rafting. Most black people do not climb mountains or walk on beach paths. But if you look at this photo again, everyone is represented from young to old. And through this activity in nature, this biomimicry of walking through nature, being in contact with nature, this lady, Rue Mapp, has developed the outdoor afro. And I think that that's how organizations, whatever your organization may be, whatever your cause may be, your crew, you've got a b-boy crew, or you've got an intellectual lecture crew, that it can encompass young to old. And everyone can be included in this dialogue. What makes this so important to me in the conversation that I'm trying to have with nature and encourage you guys to look at nature is that when this blog first started, it was a lady, her kids. She's putting up photos. We went kayaking. We climbed the mountain. Look what we did. Next year, there was a few more people, a few more friends, a few more friends. So now we're looking at 3 to 4 years later. She has corporate sponsors. She's created a new space for black bodies within nature and national parks. And these groups represent different areas of the United States. So from that middle, she has created her web from that one central idea. She has created that web and created a community of people who identify as outdoor Afros. At the top, these people are from Alaska. These people are from California, and I forget what coast that these people are from, and then these people are Coloradans. So from that one idea, she has spread and spread and spread her web. So that web will continue. That little girl in the front with the red hair, she will continue to push this idea of being outside. That little boy in the back, he will continue. And most of these people will continue to participate in these activities. And so that's why this piece is important to me, or this is how we can build organizations. This last piece is just gratuitous for me. But me being an outdoors person and me relying on nature to go through my life, to go through my practice, to do and create the work that I create, I realized once that I was an angler, which is like my family lineage. My family is full of boys, and it is bragging rights in my family to be a great fisherman. When my uncle died, his obituary was him with 2 sailfish, right? So he was a great fisherman. So for me, in this situation, I'm thinking aesthetically, fishing does not relate to me. So I'm willing to go outside of the box, go outside of myself, which we have to do when we are in these sort of situations. We have to push the conversation beyond the normal aesthetic that we are used to. We have to get past the Ernie Barneses, and we have to get past the church scenes, and we have to get past the baptismals and the jazz to produce something new. If we do not get past these icons or representations, then we will become stagnant. Organizations like the Black Arts Festival and all these places, I thank you for reaching out to me, because I've wanted to speak on one of these for so long, to sort of give another aesthetic to what Black art could be, or what art could be, and what that philosophy could be. So thank you for that. But back to this, I started a fishing company all based off of hip hop, which goes back to the Africa Bambaataa, which is the reels of steel digging in the baits. And if you know anything about hip hop, it's the wheels of steel digging in the crates. So this is very true to who I am, very true to my aesthetic, very true to my belief system, my core belief system. And with this Reels of Steel, I hope to encourage other people who are like me and build my web and build my practice, art-wise, creative-wise, intellectual-wise, through my aesthetic, on my terms,